Alright, and we are going here. Welcome to the Quarantine Cup tournament live stream. My name is Logan. I'm from the Snake Rat channel, and I'm here hosting the commentary and live stream for the Quarantine Cup, sponsored by Nakijo, which is being run by Nolan TCG. So you might know Nolan TCG. It's a pretty big Australian Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube channel, and I'm just his friend who decided to do the live stream for him so he could play in the tournament. And so here we go. We're seeing Time Lords versing Dogmatica. I assume it's a Dogmatica Eldritch build with the back row. Yeah, so it should be pretty interesting. We've got Seb playing the Dogmatica. He's a Wollongong player versus Henry Trev, who's currently on the Time Lord build, and he's from Sydney area. So looking forward to a good match here in round one. A bit of variety in the decks here, and we'll see how it goes here. So we've got Henry going second here, so obviously with the Time Lords makes sense going second. And so let's have a look at this Time Lord here. So this is the Time Lord, the light one. Now neither cannot be special summoned, can only control one, cannot be destroyed by battle card effect, neither play takes battle damage. At the end of battle phase, if it attacks, inflict 2,000. So he's playing Burn with this, it looks like, and so we're going to see probably a lot of back row set, probably some Just Desserts, some Secret Barrels, so stuff like that. But we are going to see the Pegasus here. I believe that shuffles into the deck from memory. You can destroy it if this card is in the graveyard. Banish it, target one card your opponent controls, shuffle into the deck. Yep, and so there goes the Time Lord. And so we're going to see a bunch of back row get set here. Seb has taken 2k, which is interesting because I believe it's at the end of the damage step. And I don't know if it's on the field. I'm actually not sure about that ruling. But regardless, we're going to see a set 2 pass. Yep, there we go. We're going to see him gain 2k back. So that's actually correct there. So we were on the right wavelength there. We're going to see a Scarlet Sanguine activate in the end phase to summon out a Golden Lord. And now Seb's going to get a draw. And this is starting the engine off now. Scarlet Sanguine is probably the best one you want to see for your Eldritch deck, because it's not only getting you your Golden Lord, but next turn it's getting you a trap that actually feeds off your Golden Lord. So very strong start here from Sebastian. Not a bad start either from Henry here. He's able to force out the Wind Pegasus. However, that's not really a huge factor for a Chain Burn deck. I can't imagine that's going to be playing too much into the game. Probably going to see a lot of hand traps in Henry's hand now, because of the way he's got his deck built. So we'll see the direct attack here from the Golden Lord get met by a Battle Fader. Very interesting deck here. So it's very much a classic Chain Burn deck here. So we're going to see a Dogmatica Punishment on the Battle Fader. Very interesting here. I suppose he wants to fuel his extra deck cards. So we might see an Ash Dragon here to get him back floating into the Ecclesia in that next turn. But we're going to see that met with a trap card. We're going to see it met with Secret Blast, which is going to deal 300 damage for each card Sebastian controls here. So he's going to dump another Wind Pegasus. Very interesting. I suppose he's playing around the Time Lord effects here with that. Seems right. And that's going to be it. And we're going to see Sebastian pass turn here in his graveyard. He's going to activate the Scarlet Sanguine in the end phase. Probably going to get him a Conquistador here, I imagine. The Conquistador is probably much more impactful in this matchup than what a Hakero would do. That's going to pass it back now to Henry. He's going to draw for turn, and we'll see what the Time Lord Burn deck can do from here. Question from the chat, is this Burn? Yeah, it does look like he's playing some sort of Time Lord Burn deck with the Secret Blast and the 2k Burn Time Lords. So your assumption is probably correct here that we are seeing a Time Lord Burn deck here. However, I don't feel like this is an optimal matchup for the Time Lord deck. As you'll see, he's got to face down against all the back row that's going to interrupt. The Wind Pegasus is fueling in the graveyard to stop the Time Lords. So this doesn't look like a very good matchup for the Burn player here in Henry. So we'll see it's now Sebastian's main phase. He looks into his extra deck. Could be a Link Spider play here to fuel his traps into the graveyard. Not a terrible option for the Eldritch player here. But we're going to see him set one instead, not going for the Link Spider. Seems perfectly fine to just leave it on the board here. We're going to see a Golden Lord attempt to activate, and that's going to be met with, what is this? A Gravedigger's Trap Hole. Very interesting card. Very interesting. We see this when it first came out, was being used with Trap Trick Rafflesia to be able to stop like a Nibiru in the hand. But we're actually seeing him play it to stop the Eldritch, and it's actually also going to do 2k damage, which is very interesting for the Burn deck. I like that a lot in this format. Alright, Seb's going to declare an attack here for 500. So the Burn player here has actually done a decent job in mitigating the early game of the Eldritch play here, but he's going to start getting a lot of resources in this part of the match here. So unless the Eldritch player can start fueling some resources, we might see the Eldritch player start to swing this game back into his favour a bit stronger than what it already is. He has done well to get the 4800, and of course if he got that Time Lord off as well, he'd be in a much stronger position. But alas, it wasn't able to be done. So we'll see what Henry can do here. He's going to draw for turn, go straight to the main phase, and we'll see what he can do in this moment. Not a great turn for Henry, just set one and pass, and we're going to see that met with an Extravagance on Sebastian's turn, going to get him to draw 2, and so Eldritch just has so many resources at this point in the game, you'd have to imagine it's going to be very hard for Henry to win this game, unless he has like a Secret Blast or a Just Desserts to punish Sebastian here. If he overextends, we'll see this be probably slowly grind into an Eldritch format. I'm interested to know what the deck representation will be throughout this event, throughout the Quarantine Cup. I do expect a lot of Eldritch, to be honest. I think it's one of those decks where it's quite easy to play, especially on a simulator like Dueling Book. You don't really have to use your brain as much as you do with a combo deck. So I think more players will actually play something more control-y just because they're playing on Dueling Book. And I think we'll see Eldritch, we'll see some Drytron. It'll be quite interesting to see what plays out. We'll see a lot of Tri-Brigade, I believe, as well in there. So we see the Golden Lord coming down here. It's now 3,500, so it's going to be swinging for some big damage here unless Henry can stop it. This is definitely a clock now. We've got 4k represented on the board. That's going to drop to another 3k next turn, so any monster or any of the traps he can flip after this turn, if he gets to stay in this position, will probably just win him the game with pressure unless Henry can actually swing the matchup. So we're going to see an attack is going to be met with a Swift Scarecrow. Very interesting choice of deck to be playing week 1 of the Quarantine Cup by Henry. I feel like this deck really struggles against a lot of the decks in the format. Like an Appaloosa for Tri-Brigade on turn 1 just shuts off your Theta, just shuts off your Swift Scarecrows. So, you know, I guess you have your Time Lords for that, but they're also able to be met with the Banish from Revolt, which is probably the strongest deck in the format. So, look, we'll see how he goes, but so far he's surviving against Eldritch, so we'll have to wait and see how he continues to play this out. Speaking of a good card, here we have a Lava Golem that's going to be able to out the Eldritch and the Trap. And that's also something that's going to be good in his later games with Tri-Brigade and other decks to out, like the Appaloosas, out the Tri-Brigade Link 4. So again, not bad, and that's going to deal 1,000 damage on Sebastian's turn. So now he's on a 4-turn clock. So if Henry can just grind this game slowly out, he might be able to just push that way for a win in game 1. However, we're going to see the Sanguine go get another Golden Lord from the deck here. And so, you know, now he's on an even bigger clock, right? Because this will be game if he can drop another Golden Lord next turn, unless Henry has a way to out that. You would assume he does with the way he's been playing this so far. Okay, so here we go. Sebastian is representing Lethal on the board here. That's going to be 8k damage, or even more than 8k. That's going to be 9k damage. Master's hard, kids, stay in school. So that's going to be very difficult. Ring of Destruction is going to drop, and that's going to deal 3,000 damage to both players. So that's very interesting here, because that's going to put Sebastian at 800 life points. And unless Henry has a way to protect himself, it's still going to be game. But this puts Sebastian on a much bigger clock with the Ring of Destruction, putting in the work. And unfortunately, that is going to be the end of game 1 with how that goes down. So we're going to go into game 2. That was close in the end, closer than I thought it would be with that Ring of Destruction. I feel like if he could have survived just one more turn and then drawn into like literally any burn spell or burn trap, he kind of actually gets that game. So much closer in game 1 than I thought it would be in the end. But let's see how game 2 with siding progresses. It'll be interesting to see just what Sebastian can actually put in here. You'd assume it's just a bunch of back row removal cards. But it'll be interesting to see what Henry side decks for this event, because obviously playing a deck like Burn, you need to have a good side deck built for particular meta decks. And Eldritch, although it is quite a popular deck, it isn't necessarily one of the big 3, I'd say, in the format. And so it'll be interesting to see what he actually has in his side deck for the Eldritch matchup, particularly. He might have some stuff for the Dogmatica engine, which did end up being pretty prevalent in the early start to that game, but we'll have to see where it goes. So you'll imagine that Henry's the Time Lords will go second here, and that's exactly what he chooses to do. So again, that's a bit of a structural problem as well, depending on how he goes here, because the Eldritch deck does love to set up, and so having to go second is a problem here. So we're going to see Nerdia's Servant drop onto the board straight away. Such a power card here to search your Ecclesia, search your punishment, and put a Pegasus in the graveyard. Like, it's just so strong. So we see the Ecclesia drop onto the board that's going to search the punishment. And so if Seb has maybe 2 to 3 traps here, he probably sets them. You probably want to keep a couple of your traps in your hand here, just in case you're playing around a Twin Twister or a Duster, just in case those were sided in. But seems like Seb's happy to play into Duster if he has it, so you might assume he has a Judgment here, because he's going to set 4 and pass here. So you'd assume that's probably a hand trap in hand, or maybe a Golden Lord that you didn't want to send yet. So we're going to see Henry draw for turn. And we're going to see the Wind Witches come down. Now this is interesting. We didn't see these in the start. So he's playing definitely some interesting packages here. So this is actually just really interesting because it puts a little bit of burn damage on the board, plus it gets you a level 7 or a level 8 Synchro, and so that's going to provide definitely some fodder to be played into for Henry to play around with. I believe it does lock you into wins though, so we're not going to see anything too crazy, but we'll see how this goes. So I believe this one is the one that burns and adds. Or I could be wrong, could be the next one that burns and adds. No, I believe it might be the level 1. I could be wrong here. Oh, actually, hang on, no, I'm just wrong here. It's level 7. It's the level 7, right? Because you summon it, you burn, and then you get to make a crystal wing. So that will be interesting. So here we go in a Synchro for 7 here. So here comes the Wind Witch Synchro. So it inflicts damage to your opponent equal to the target's level. So you target your level 4 and you'll deal 800 damage from this, which is really interesting, right? Because it gets you, a tenth of your opponent's life points, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that much, but for a burn player, like, he only lost that last game by 800, right? So this is a good bit of damage on the board. And it also kind of let you get into a Crystal Wing, which is going to be a disruption for your opponent and also kind of something that allows you to protect your plays as well, which is very interesting. Okay, so it's going to get met with a bit of an interesting line here, right? Because he's activated the Conquistador and he's also activated the Sanguine, right? Now, if you ask me, it's really big risk to reward to do that sort of line of play, because if they have the Ash there, you've wasted an extra resource. So I always like to just do like activate Sanguine and then on summon, like when the summon resolves, you chain the Conquistador, because like if they have the Ash, you can hold the Conquistador. And so obviously I think that's a better line. Obviously Seb doesn't get punished for it here, which is good for him. It seems like Henry's not playing any of those hand traps. He's playing a lot of battle effects and and negate attack sort of effects. So that will be interesting to see how that continues to play for him for the rest of the event. But we're going to see, it's back to Seb's turn now, and he's got a lot of control over the board here. So I can see this definitely going in his favor. Unless these traps are quite strong, in which case we might see something else. But it looks like we're going to see the BLS come down here, and there it is. Big boy with 3 different names, so he's going to be absolutely destroying this board for the next few turns. So down comes another Nadir servant here. So this is going to be strong here because you could send like another Pegasus or, a Tri-Brigade. Yep, and there's the Tri-Brigade. So that's going to let him not only add back the Ecclesia, but he's going to get to draw one and put one back. So it's going to cycle a card as well. So he's, again, playing that card advantage game, which is really important for the Eldritch deck, right? Because if he doesn't cycle these cards through, he's going to get on the back foot very quickly. So here we go, here comes the Ecclesia back again, normal summoning again for its effect to go get a Dogmatica punishment, you'd assume. Although he could go get the monster to do some damage. Nah, he plays it safe, he's going to go get the punishment. Much better choice in my opinion. He already has so much impact on monsters on the board. So here he goes, he's going to attack with the BLS, which is going to then trigger its effect, I believe. It has to destroy an opponent's monster, which makes sense why he's attacking with it. So he's going to get that to banish a card on the field, probably, would be my guess. No, he's going to do it to gain the attack, so he's made it big. Interesting choice, I'd assume. I guess it promotes something that's bigger than all the Time Lords. But I mean, I would have gone for the Banisher card on the board, right? Like, yeah. I guess we'll see why he does that in the end, if that pays off. So Eldritch things are going to be happening now. We're going to get the Sanguine, we're going to get the Conquistador again, cycling those trap cards very strong. The whole reason Eldritch is such a strong deck that it is. So Henry setting one and passing, not looking like he's in a super strong position here. Potentially had a Battle Fade or a Swift Scarecrow in the hand to let him kind of survive a turn or two, but this is not looking good for him. He's out-resourced, he's lost the card advantage game, and Eldritch is just starting to get a roll on here with their traps cycling each other out and getting more and more resources. So Golden Lord's going to hit the board, and this is a lot of damage facing Henry in this particular moment. So he's going to link off in the Link Spider. Here is Sebastian. So again, a stronger monster. Also lets the trap go to the graveyard to cycle in the end phase. Very much a standard Eldritch play here. And so this is Eldritch's game to lose here, right? You got a 45, a 2-5, and a 1k. And so there's the Battle Fader dropping down to the board. And he's going to be met with Solemn Strike. That is very interesting, isn't it? And that might just seal the game right there, honestly. Does Henry have a way to protect himself this turn? No, he does not. That will seal round one for Sebastian. Henry going down 2-0, unfortunately. But, you know, a good game by the Burn player here. He got very close in game one. And a Solemn Strike on a Battle Fader. Never thought I'd say that during this event. But that's going to seal it for round one. So we're going to be back in round two. This round finishes at 8 o'clock. And so we'll probably be back at about 8:05 if you want to go get a drink. And we'll see you back here for round two.